Peter was just 12, his little brother Paul only 9. That evening, Peter held Paul's hand tight as they wandered through empty streets, Paul clutching his stomach, hollow from hunger. With no options left, Peter finally pushed open the door to a bustling restaurant. He moved hesitantly toward a stranger named Mr. Jasper, hoping for just a scrap of leftover food to save his brother. But what happened next completely shocked everyone. Who was Jasper really, and how did one simple moment rewrite everything for Peter and Paul? Sit back, grab your popcorn, and join me as we uncover this powerful story. Peter was just 12, but the lines on his face made him look years older. His little brother Paul, only 9, walked barefoot beside him, dust clinging to his skinny legs. They moved slowly along the street, hands locked tightly together as if afraid the world might pull them apart. "Peter," Paul whispered, his voice dry and trembling. "I'm so hungry. My stomach hurts." Peter's heart clenched. He squeezed Paul's hand harder, forcing a smile that didn't reach his tired eyes. "Don't worry, Paul. I'll find us something today, I promise." They continued, stopping by busy shops, stretching out their small palms, begging for coins, for bread, for anything. Most people walked past, their eyes averted, pretending not to hear. A few muttered under their breath about filthy street kids, but Peter kept moving, determined not to let his brother collapse. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in bruised shades of orange and purple, they came to the front of a bright, bustling restaurant named the Palm Garden. Through the wide windows, Peter could see people laughing over plates piled high with steaming meat and thick soups. Peter turned to Paul. "Wait for me here. I'll be back soon, okay?" Paul nodded weakly and sank onto the curb, hugging his knees. Peter took a deep breath and pushed open the heavy glass door. Warm, savoury air wrapped around him instantly, making his empty belly twist in painful hope. His eyes darted around, searching for someone, anyone, who might be kind. Then he saw him. In the far corner, seated alone at a polished wooden table, was a well-dressed man with salt and pepper hair, staring blankly at his untouched meal. This was Mr. Jasper, a billionaire oil and gas tycoon. Despite the wealth that clung to him like an expensive perfume, there was a hollow look in his eyes. For over 10 years, he and his beloved wife, Mariam, had tried to have children, only to be met with endless disappointment. Doctors found nothing wrong, yet their home remained heartbreakingly silent. Jasper absent-mindedly ran a finger around the rim of his glass, mumbling to himself, "I wish I had my own boys here today, running around, filling my house with laughter." Peter walked up cautiously, his heart hammered in his chest. "Please, sir, can you give me your leftovers? My brother is hungry." Jasper looked up, startled from his sorrow. "What did you say, boy?" Peter swallowed. "Your leftovers, sir, please." Jasper's eyes softened. "Where are your parents?" We don't have any," Peter said, voice cracking. Jasper frowned. "What do you mean?" Peter dropped his gaze to the floor, ashamed to be standing there, begging. A long moment passed, then Jasper raised his hand and called the waiter. "Bring these boys a proper meal. Fresh, hot." Peter's eyes widened, relief flooded him. As he hurried to take the food outside to Paul, something stirred inside Jasper, a small voice he couldn't ignore. Without thinking, he stood, dropped money on the table, and followed Peter out into the dimming evening. Jasper stepped through the restaurant door, his polished shoes crunching on the gravel outside. He scanned the dim street, spotting Peter kneeling beside Paul under a flickering lamp. The boys huddled together, the warm steam of the restaurant meal rising between them. Paul's eyes lit up as Peter carefully tore the bread in half, then spooned stew into his little brother's trembling hands. Watching Paul eat, Peter's shoulders slumped in relief, as if for just a moment the crushing weight he carried had slipped off. Jasper felt something deep in his chest twist painfully. "That should have been me," he thought bitterly, watching my own sons share a meal, laughing together. Instead, for more than 10 years, he and Mariam had returned from countless doctor appointments to the same silent house. Everything perfect, yet painfully empty. He hesitated on the sidewalk, heart pounding in a way it hadn't for years. Then he took a breath and approached them. Peter looked up, mid-bite, startled, eyes wide. Paul froze, crumbs on his lips. "Is it true?" Jasper asked softly. "You have no parents?" Peter swallowed hard. "Yes, sir. They died in a car accident 2 years ago." Jasper crouched, trying to hold Peter's nervous gaze. "Then who have you been living with?" "Our uncle," Peter whispered. "But his wife, she hated us. Whenever our uncle left for work, she'd beat us, starve us. She told him we were lying devils if we complained. One day, I couldn't take it anymore. I took Paul and ran." Jasper's throat tightened. "Where have you been sleeping?" "Anywhere, sir," Peter said. "Sometimes in old shops, sometimes under porches. We beg for food." For a long moment, Jasper couldn't speak. The world around him blurred. All the cars, the glowing restaurant signs, the laughing customers inside. He only saw these 2 fragile boys clinging to each other for survival. A tear slipped down Jasper's cheek before he could stop it. He quickly wiped it away, clearing his throat. "Wait here tomorrow morning," he said. "Same spot. I have something for you." Peter nodded, confused but hopeful. "Thank you, sir." That night, Jasper returned home to his grand house, where chandeliers glittered and silence echoed in every hall. He found Mariam curled on the couch, reading. Her eyes lit up when she saw him, then dimmed again at the look on his face. "What's wrong, Jasper?" He told her everything, about Peter, about Paul, about the way he felt watching them. His words poured out, tangled with emotion he'd held back for years. "Mariam, I want to help them, maybe even adopt them." She stiffened. "Adopt strangers? Jasper, we don't know them. It's dangerous, I know. But Mariam, it's like God put them there for us. For all these years we've prayed for children. What if this is how he answers?" Mariam turned away, her eyes misty with fear and longing. After a long silence, she whispered, "Let me sleep on it." Jasper exhaled, hope flickering. Maybe, just maybe, tomorrow would change everything. Mariam lay awake long after Jasper had fallen into a restless sleep. Her mind spun with images of small hands, hollow eyes, fragile bodies. Could they really take in 2 boys off the street? Boys with no history, no family to vouch for them. But then she remembered the way Jasper's voice cracked as he spoke, the way he gripped her hand like a drowning man begging for breath. They had both longed for children for so long. Maybe this was God writing their story a different way. By dawn, her pillow was damp with tears, but her heart felt strangely light. When Jasper came down for breakfast, pale and tense, Mariam met him at the table. "Jasper," she breathed, voice trembling. "Let's go find them." Jasper's eyes widened. For a heartbeat, he looked like a man reborn. He reached across the table and squeezed her hand so tight she winced, tears springing into his eyes. "Thank you, Mariam, thank you." They wasted no time. Jasper called his lawyer on the way, making sure every question of guardianship, adoption papers, and potential future disputes would be covered. He didn't want any loose ends that could later tear their new family apart. When they arrived back at the restaurant, they found the boys sitting exactly where they'd left them. Paul's head resting in his brother's lap. Both looked thinner in the morning light, hair tangled, clothes stiff with dust. Peter startled as the car door opened and Jasper stepped out, Mariam close behind. The elegant woman studied them with uncertain eyes, her hands twisting together. Peter instinctively pulled Paul closer. Jasper knelt down, his expensive trousers gathering dust as he crouched close to them. His eyes softened, and for a moment he simply studied the 2 fragile boys, clinging to each other like they were all the world had left. Then he cleared his throat, voice low and gentle. "You know, I just realized. Yesterday I never even asked. What are your names? Peter's throat bobbed. He whispered, almost afraid to speak. I'm Peter, sir, and this is my brother Paul. Jasper repeated it slowly, like tasting a precious secret. Peter. Paul. A faint smile curved his lips, and he nodded, as if sealing something silently in his heart. Then he turned slightly, gesturing to the woman standing beside him. Boys, this is my wife, Mariam. Mariam swallowed hard, her eyes glistening, then forced a small, trembling smile. Hello, Peter. Hello, Paul. Peter held Paul tighter. His eyes darted between them, full of fear and desperate hope. Jasper drew a long breath. We want to help you. Not just today. We want you to come live with us, have a home, real meals, a warm bed, go to school, be safe. Peter's breath hitched. Live? With you? Yes, Mariam whispered. Her voice cracked and she quickly dabbed her eyes. If you'll trust us. Peter looked down at Paul, at his frail little brother's trusting face. Then back up at these strangers who were promising the world. Will you ever send us away? Peter asked, voice barely holding together. Never, Jasper said, firm and thick with emotion. You'll be ours, as much as if you were born from us. A long, fragile silence followed. Then Peter slowly nodded, tears slipping down his cheeks. Mariam stepped forward, kneeling awkwardly, and wrapped them both in her trembling arms. For the first time in years, Jasper felt something inside him unlock. Maybe, just maybe, this was the family they'd prayed for all along. The grand gates of Jasper's estate swung open, revealing manicured gardens and a sprawling mansion that seemed to stretch forever. Peter and Paul sat stiffly in the back seat, eyes wide, clutching each other's hands so hard their knuckles whitened. Inside, the marble floors gleamed like water, curiosity on their faces. One of the maids, Esther, stepped forward with a gentle smile. Welcome, young masters. Peter flinched at the words. Masters? Could she really be talking to them? Esther guided them upstairs, where warm baths waited. As she scrubbed the dirt from their tiny backs, Paul squirmed and giggled, the first real laugh that had escaped his lips in months. When she poured fragrant water over his hair, he sighed and leaned into her hands, eyes closing in bliss. Clean clothes followed, crisp shirts, soft shorts, tiny shoes that actually fit. When Peter looked in the mirror, he hardly recognized the boy staring back. For the first time in forever, he didn't look like someone the world had thrown away. Downstairs, Jasper and Mariam waited at a long dining table. The boys paused at the door, unsure, until Mariam stretched out her arms. Come, Peter. Come, Paul. Slowly, they walked over. Jasper pulled out chairs for them himself. As the cook brought plates piled high with steaming jollof rice and grilled chicken, Paul's eyes went impossibly wide. He reached for Peter's hand under the table, squeezing it so hard it hurt. That night, for the first time in countless days, they slept in soft beds under fluffy blankets, full bellies pressing gently against their ribs. When Jasper peeked in hours later, he found them tangled together, fast asleep, tiny hands still locked in a promise of never letting go. The days that followed felt like dreams Peter and Paul were terrified to wake from. Each morning brought fresh bread, gentle voices, and the steady, comforting beat of a home that truly wanted them there. Jasper enrolled them in the best nearby school. Paul clung to Peter at first, terrified, but soon found joy in playful classmates. Peter, meanwhile, astonished his teachers. His hunger for knowledge was endless, as though trying to fill all the empty places hardship had carved out inside him. 2 years passed in gentle waves of healing and laughter. Peter grew taller, his shoulders stronger, his smile easy. Paul's eyes shone with a light that had never been there before. Then one quiet morning, Marianne clutched Jasper's arm with tears sparkling on her cheeks. Tests confirmed what they had prayed for all these years. Marianne was pregnant, and with twins. Jasper dropped to his knees in the hallway, gripping her hands, weeping with a joy too big to hide. Peter and Paul hugged each other tight, tears running down their faces. That night, Peter knelt by Mariam's chair, resting his head in her lap. "Thank you, Mama," he whispered. "We'll help look after them too." It seemed life had poured every hidden blessing on them at once. The mansion buzzed with preparations for the babies, tiny clothes, small cribs built by Jasper's own hands, laughter echoing off the marble halls. Then came the national science competition. Peter's brilliance shone so bright he outpaced students twice his age. When he won, cameras flashed, news articles were written, and a huge billboard went up in town. "Congratulations to our young genius, Peter Jasper!" Some news of Peter's brilliance spread faster than wildfire. Local papers praised him, school assemblies honoured him, and that grand billboard with his bright smile stood at the main roundabout like a crown jewel of the city. It read, "Congratulations to our young genius, Peter Jasper." Far away, in a cramped house that smelled of stale palm oil and old lies, Peter and Paul's uncle sat glaring at that very billboard, printed out from a cousin's phone and shoved under his nose. His wife stood behind him, her eyes gleaming with greedy calculation. "Phew, those worthless boys are living like royalty now," she hissed. The uncle slammed his fist on the table. "With a billionaire, no less, sleeping in rooms bigger than our entire house. That's our blood, our key to a better life." He spent the next week digging. A friend who once worked odd jobs near the Jasper estate recognized the mansion. A cousin in town confirmed Jasper's reputation and even pointed out the very gates. By the time the uncle was done, he knew exactly where to go. Days later, a shiny black car pulled up outside Jasper's estate. The guards at the gate were surprised to see two strangers insisting they were family here to take the boys home. Inside, Peter was showing Paul how to balance a tricky math equation when Mariam appeared at the doorway, face pale and drawn. "Boys, stay upstairs for now, all right?" Peter's heart skipped. Something was wrong. Down in the sitting room, Jasper faced the very people who had nearly destroyed his sons. The uncle swaggered in like he owned the marble floor, his wife a step behind, her lips pressed into a thin line of cold greed. "We've come to take Peter and Paul back," the uncle announced, a sly smile stretching across his face. "Family is family, after all." Jasper leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled under his chin. He let silence hang so thick it smothered the room. Finally he spoke, voice low and razor-sharp. "Where was this family when these boys were beaten? Starved under your roof? When your wife chose cruelty over care?" The uncle scowled. "That's not your affair. They belong to us by blood, and with the life they're living now, it's only right they return." "It is my affair," Jasper said, eyes flashing. "Because I have full guardianship, court sealed. Try to take them and I'll see you both jailed for child abuse and neglect. I could have the police here within minutes." Mariam stood beside him, voice trembling but fierce. "You left them to die. You will never get them back." The uncle blanched. His wife tugged his arm, whispering frantically. Jasper rose, towering over them. "Leave my home. Show your faces here again and I will destroy you in every way the law allows." Upstairs, Peter had crept close enough to hear every word. When Jasper returned, Peter and Paul rushed into his arms, tears streaking their cheeks. "They can't ever take us, right?" Paul choked out. Jasper hugged them tighter. "Never. You're ours, forever." Weeks passed after the uncle's failed scheme, but Peter and Paul still carried small shadows in their eyes. Each time the estate gates creaked or an unfamiliar car pulled up, Peter would stiffen, his hand instinctively reaching for Paul's. But Jasper was always there, steady, unbreakable, promising with every breath that no harm would ever touch them again. Then one golden afternoon, the world changed forever. Mariam went into labour, her cries echoing through the mansion like sacred bells. Peter and Paul paced the corridor outside her room, hands locked together, whispering frantic prayers. Hours dragged by until finally Esther burst through the door, eyes bright with tears. "Two healthy baby boys!" she laughed, unable to hold back her joy. Peter let out a strangled sound, half sob, half laughter, and hugged Paul so tightly they nearly toppled over. When Jasper emerged, his face streaked with tears, he didn't say a word. He simply pulled them both into a fierce embrace that smelled of antiseptic, sweat, and overwhelming relief. Days later, the mansion seemed to pulse with a new, tender life. The twins lay nestled in tiny bassinets, pink fists curling, soft breaths sighing. Mariam was radiant with gentle exhaustion, her eyes never leaving her babies' faces. Peter stood at her bedside, watching the twins with quiet awe. He reached out, his hand trembling, and Mariam guided it to rest on one tiny warm belly. "They're so small," Peter whispered. Mariam smiled, eyes shimmering. "So were you once." Beside them, Jasper watched with a fullness in his chest that words could never reach. Here they all were, Peter, Paul, the twins, Mariam. Every gap in his life finally sealed by laughter, tears, and a love he had once feared he'd never know. The story soon spread through the city like sunlight chasing away shadows. Whispers of the billionaire who not only adopted two lost boys, but was later blessed with twins of his own. People in markets and churches spoke of it as a miracle, of how kindness had returned to him 100-fold. On weekends, Jasper would sit on the broad veranda, the twins gurgling in little baskets nearby, while Paul chased bright paper kites across the lawn, and Peter buried his nose in books, glancing up every so often with a smile that reached all the way to his soul. Sometimes Peter would pause, simply watching Mariam cradle the twins, Jasper's arm draped lovingly around her shoulders. A lump would rise in his throat, tears hot at the corners of his eyes. "Is everything okay?" Jasper once asked him. Peter swallowed, voice rough. "Yeah, I'm just really happy." Jasper smiled, pulling him close and gently ruffling his hair. "Good. That's all I'll ever need." And somewhere far beyond the estate walls, the uncle and his wife sat in bitter silence, powerless to change the joyous fate they had tried so hard to ruin. Because, in this house, love had done what blood alone never could. It had built a family no storm could ever break. If this story warmed your heart today, tell me in the comments. I'd truly love to hear how it touched you. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. Thank you for watching.